Hello again, and welcome to another episode of the Terry McGriff Show. Just another wonderful day to be alive. I mean, we've got some things going on in this world out here that, just makes you be grateful. Just making it through my week, I'm having some things that I'm going through, family going through, but, with the grace of God, we'll make it through. But I always look forward to our shows together, and I love that T-shirt that you're wearing. So that made me feel good already. I appreciate that, my friend. I was talking to my friend right here, Andre L. Sullivan. Oh, my goodness, man. That made my day right there. You got the T-shirt on. How you doing today, Andre?
I'm good. I'm blessed. I'm here.
How was your day at school? I think you working today with them boys today. Y'all working out?
Yes. I'm running about maybe a good 2.5 hours of sleep. With one cheeseburger meal type of day. You feel me? So it is what it is. But I'm here.
All right. Yeah. Well, we gonna have a good show today. We're going to get through this thing quickly so we can get back today, and maybe you can catch a few minutes to get some some sleep time, or maybe we turn it in early tonight. But before we do that, folks, if you like our show, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel and enjoy our content. Also, just patronize our friends here at Watch Game Film, at Team Sportswear Direct, the Women's Tackle Football League, of course, and She-Car. Also, all those good folks at Laces Out Foundation and the Demp Project. Man, we're just going to have a good time today and try to help me get through this by talking a little bit of football. We're going to talk some Jaguars position battles, something that we think are the most interesting. Also, we're going to talk about some teams that, that didn't make the playoffs last year, that we predicting that'll have a playoff run. And then we're going to start our series again this year with divisional breakdowns, and we'll start with the AFC East this year. So I guess till we get through this and to the preseason, we'll probably go AFC then NFC falling for each week, so we can kind of get through that. So, let's get started. I know you've been out there and you've seen some of the mini camps and stuff like that. And those Jaguars, there's a lot of expectation. I don't think there's a lot of expectation to make the playoffs, but there are a lot of big expectations of a much improved quality of play, much better organization, and definitely better quarterback play. Looking at what's in the quarterback room now with Trevor Lawrence and Minshew and C.J. Beathard in that room. And I'll get your take on this. Who you think some of the most interesting battles going into training camp and through training camp will be?
Well, I think the biggest position battle right now is how many wide receivers are they going to keep?
Ooh, that's a good one.
And listen, people, I'm not overstating this, and this isn't the fan in me overselling this to you guys. The wide receiver room right now is the best it has been since the camp of 2017.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I don't think no one's kind of guessing who the starters are going to be. Marvin Jones, DJ Chark, and Laviska Shenault. I mean, they kind of have that locked up. No offense to anybody else in that room. But those rotation spots, and Urban Meyer has since the draft has said they will be going heavy rotation. You'll probably see one of those three names always in that rotation on the field. But at any point and at any time, the list of names that they have behind those three guys are the guys to watch out for. And I'll name a few: just Philip Dorsett, Josh Hammond, Jamal Agnew, Jalen Camp, Colin Johnson, Javade Johnson, Tim Jones, and Josh Inumabwile. Listen, none of those guys are just garbage. One or at least two or three of those guys who I mentioned will not make this team and will make someone else's team. That I'll put my first child that I don't have yet on that. It's just because, oh my God, the talent that they have right now, you guys. I'm not trying to like oversell it or nothing, but woo. All right, but then I'm going to my next one. I got three that I'm going to do for you, but this next one is quite interesting. You mentioned better quarterback play. Yeah, right now there are 4 quarterbacks that sit in that room. 4. Those are Trevor Lawrence, C.J. Beathard, Gardner Minshew, and Jake Luton. Somebody got to go home.
Yeah, you're right. Most teams only keep 2 and somebody on the practice squad.
So Urban Meyer has said there's a strong chance that he will keep 3 quarterbacks this year, just because he does have a rookie on, a rookie that he's bringing in, but he wants to keep those 2 guys. One, because Minshew can show you how to get it done and how to deal with all this stuff. And C.J. Beathard and Jake Luton are veterans that have done it other places, and they can still sling the ball around the bar.
I agree with you.
The question is, we don't know who's going to be number 2.
Yeah.
I mean, Gardner Minshew had a great OTA camp, but so did C.J. Beathard. And Jay Luton is still there in the mix. So right now, it's kind of just like bingo. Whichever ball falls out the quickest, it's just going to be. And then my last one, the one that I personally have my eye on the most, is, Jacksonville Jaguars have said and have shown us they will be doing a 3-4 defense this year. Who is going to play those inside linebackers?
Oh, you stole my thunder.
I'm sorry, Coach.
It's all good, though. It's all good. I told you to go first. But...
I'm a defensive coordinator. I'm a defensive guy. Who is going to play those inside linebackers? I mean, right now, we can both say that – I think we can both agree that Joe Schobert and Miles Jack right now have that right and left inside linebacker job. But behind both of those guys are Damian Wilson and Shaq Quarterman, Leon Jacobs, and Quincy Williams.
I totally agree.
And you can't really go wrong with the number 2. But here's the question with that. Picking a number 2 means you're getting rid of a number 3.
Yes.
Because they're not keeping 6 inside linebackers. No. And so it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
That's going to be probably, if I was going to go, that was my top choice of the most interesting of the battles out of camp, because there is not only good quality, but good quality depth. So there really is not going to be a lot of drop-off at the linebacker spot, depending on who gets stuck in there.
Right.
Which for them going to give you a lot of versatility, which is going to improve the defense, because you won't have teams being able to wear them down, because guys won't just be able to, this guy got out, we can take advantage of him. You're not going to find that this year. I mean, you got a lot. I mean, you may not know those guys' names, but by the end of the 2021 season, I guarantee you will if you follow this team long enough. So they got a lot of good talent. One of the things I want to talk about is this offensive line. That was going to be my backup. Yet the offensive line is going to be super interesting to me, because the fact that you're hearing so much talk about Walker Little. You got Walker Little, who, for all intensive purposes, had he not opted out, had this COVID thing, and he got a chance to play, and you got to see him, he would have been a probably top 20 pick as a pure talent. He was, coming out of high school, the number 1 offensive tackle in America, and he performed like that while he was at Stanford until the unfortunate injury. But everybody that has seen him has said he's totally recovered from that. And athletically, he has been as dominant as any lineman that has come out in recent memory. So when you got Cam Robinson, under this great contract here, he signed that tender, and he's making top 5 money. He's at left tackle. You got your right tackle. Lord, his name escapes me all of a sudden. You got 3.
Oh, you talking about Jawan Taylor?
Jawan Taylor, the former Gator. How can I forget my Gator? Not to mention, you got all the guys basically from the entire starting line, offensive line group coming back. That the new incoming staff said was a good unit.
Mm-hmm.
They kept the offensive line coach. They said the offensive line unit was the reason why the offense struggled. They said it wasn't that one, and it kind of proves it when you got a rookie free agent running back that becomes a 1,000-yard rusher. So so the line. One of the things that they were talking about was the quarterback play, and actually, if you look at Gardner Minshew's number, his numbers went back. I tell people right now, if you watch the Jaguars play, the Jaguars didn't lose games because their offense was terrible. Their offense was far from terrible. It was, at worst, middle of the road. At worst. Sometimes it had elite time. The problem is, if you go back and look at that game, they were starting 7-0 most games. The biggest game, most important part of the game for the Jaguars at most games was winning the coin toss so they didn't get the ball second. They didn't want to go down 7-0 right at the end of that, halfway through the first quarter. So with the defense improving, that you will get to really see the true talent. Not to mention the much better coaching that these guys will get this season. You're going to have better coaching, better guys that doesn't have access to grind or don't understand the talent that they have, and put these guys in the positions that will actually benefit them the most and benefit the team. So I'm looking forward, like I said, that offensive line. The other place I want to look at is not just cornerback, but the entire defensive backs, safeties, corners, 2 starting corners, and nickel. Outside of Shaq Griffin, you may not have heard of any of these guys, but there's loads and loads of talent back on that end. The only thing they're really lacking, is experience. You brought in Griffin, and you brought in, I can't think of the other safety that you brought in. You got guys who played, but they're going to be new to this system. And I think with switching to the 3-4 and allowing them to have to cover so long, I think it's going to benefit these guys. The question is, for me, is who's going to win the other starting job, and who's going to win the nickelback spot? Griffin's got one. Also, what is your rotation going to look like at the safety spot? You got a lot of guys back there, and you got a lot of young guys. So I'm waiting for watch the 3 preseason games to see who does what, and then see how that correlates to opening day when they go to Houston, to see who they open up with back there, because that's really the big unknown to me. I don't know, outside of Griffin, who is going to be that other guy, and will they be quality? You know what I mean? You got some guys that have played a lot of ball, but this is going to be interesting. And because I think the scheme change will actually benefit these guys a lot better. Will we see the best? Who the best guy that fits this scheme? Because a lot of times when you play 3-4, you play a lot of cover 2, cover 3 behind it. You don't necessarily have to play a lot of man-to-man. But you got a lot of guys on this roster with man-to-man skills, but don't have to play man-to-man. So it's going to be interesting, because when you're playing zone, you really have to be disciplined. You have to understand your assignments, who you got, when to release them, and those type of things. And your communication between the safety and the cornerback spots is vital. So and that's why I put them both together with the corners and the safeties, because I think one thing will help each other out. So it's going to be interesting. That offensive line, that defensive back room is really what I want to see. And the last thing I want to talk about is, which I don't think the battle so much is the usage of the tight end room. With all these great wide receivers we got on this roster, as you so eloquently spoke about, I don't think they're going to keep that many tight ends. I think they're going to keep 6 wide receivers on this roster. Sometimes most teams, when they got a decent couple of tight end rooms, they keep 5 receivers so they can keep an extra back, or they can keep an extra tight end. I think this tight end room is going to be kind of short. I think you're going to have, your 2 guys that can definitely block. You're going to have O'Shaughnessy. And you might just have 3 tight ends. And you're going to probably need a guy who can probably play that H-back / fullback type role. So it's not so much of the battle of who's going to come out on top with that. It's going to be the usage because of the type of talent that you got on the outside. And the difference is with the Jaguars, Jaguars have huge receivers. They got 6'6", 6'4", 6'3" guys. They got, you're talking about Laviska Shenault. He was probably the biggest running back on the roster last year, and he played wide receiver. So, he's 6'2", 225. So you got a lot of size at that wide receiver spot that you can do some things that you normally would do in a tight end as far as work in the middle of the field. So having a pass catching tight end in his offense is not as vital in this offense that I think is on other rosters because of the type of receivers that you have. So I'm interested in seeing what that room looks like and what the usage of that tight end room like. Not to mention, what they're doing with Lord have mercy, Tebow. How could you not forget that name? And the other interesting thing about that, will he make the roster? So it's going to be interesting. And I think some people thinking at this point, there's a rumor thinking that he might actually make it. So it'll be interesting to see. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to what we were talking about. Okay. Playoffs, like our Lester's coach used to say for the old Colts, playoffs? You're talking about playoffs? Okay, just want to win a game. Well, there's some teams, every year, without fail, there's always somebody new that did not make the playoffs the previous year that made the playoffs. Last year, Cleveland Browns finally broke their streak and made the playoffs and actually won a playoff game. So who do we think will make the playoffs? I mean, last year, the Dolphins came pretty close, won 10 games, but didn't make it. And they had some quarterback issues they were still working out. They've retooled the roster a little bit. I want to know your opinion on who do you think. We're not predicting here. We're just making educated guesses on who we think based on, because obviously we know injuries and all that will take effect on who does it. But who do you think going into camp, do you think has your best probability that did not make the playoffs last year to make the playoffs this year?
That did not make the playoffs, correct. I mean, the low-hanging fruit here is the New England Patriots.
Okay.
You don't keep Bill Belichick out of the playoffs 2 years in a row. Okay. No matter who's under center. You have a healthy Cam, somewhat of a retooled receiving room, if you will. And on top of that, a very inspired Bill Belichick.
Yes.
Which is saying something because he's Bill Belichick. I mean, and so, yeah, man, I don't keeping them out of the playoffs 2 years in a row when there's 3 wild card spots. I don't really see that happening. Mm-hmm. And again, it's nothing against what Bill Belichick has done in the past, or even an addition that he's made to his roster. It's just he's Bill Belichick. Mm-hmm. Let's not forget he is who we thought he was.
I love that.
Like, put some respect on that man's name, because Jesus Christ. And you brought it up too, the Miami Dolphins. What Brian Flores has done down there in Miami Gardens. Oh my God. And what he's done now in free agency and in the draft. Don't sleep on what they got going on down there, because Jesus. Yeah. Just give him some time. Yeah. Give him some time, and oh my God.
Yeah, I think with the quarterback play and all that stuff, I think they will kind of make that.
And last but not certainly not least to me, there's this team in the desert
Oh, that was my first pick. You stole my thunder again. It's all right.
Hey, man, I'm sorry. I was coached by you. My bad. But yeah, no, the Arizona Cardinals right now
Yes.
with a healthy J.J. Watt, a healthy Patrick Peterson.
Him and Chandler Jones. No, Patrick's gone. Pete gone.
I'm sorry. You're right. My bad. I apologize.
But they got Chandler Jones still.
They got Chandler Jones. Oh, not to mention they have one of the best wide receivers.
Pick one. Pick one.
Exactly.
D-Hop, Christian Kirk.
No, DeAndre Hopkins. They
AJ Green now.
I mean, AJ Green.
The great Larry Fitzgerald. Come
on. Good luck to D coordinators now.
A lot of sleepless nights getting ready for that red and black.
It was one thing to say, hey, I'm going to double DeAndre Hopkins, and he still go up and catch the ball on you. It's another thing to say, I'm going to double him, AJ Green.
Yeah. Christian Kirk's going to run wide open. You know, Fitzgerald running still. He still got it. He still got some fuel in the tank. I mean, you can't turn your back on the quarterback because he take off and run on you.
You know, it is what it is. But, I mean, those are my three teams. Don't sleep on the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm not making no. If I had to put like a notable, worthy input, now they would be on the list. But, you know, until they put cleats to dirt officially.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I'm gonna give you mine real quick before I look like somebody coming to my door real quick. But I'm going to say the New York Giants. I think this is the year that they get over the hump. They're coming into a kind of a weak division. They kind of retooled their offense, and they've upgraded on defense. I like the way that the coach really got them in order, and you know, he's under that Belichick tree, and I liked what he's done. So I see them as doing something great. And then let's see who else I'd pick in there. You kind of throw my thunder with Arizona, but it's a make or break year for the Las Vegas Raiders. You know, I don't predict them to win the division because they're in the same division with the Chiefs, but they have the opportunity with some retooling. They got rid of a couple of guys that didn't think they're good enough on the offensive line. They brought in Gus Bradley to retool the defense, and then Ngakoue. They were pretty good on that defensive side. They need a little bit of luck, but I think with their schedule this year, that'd be a team that I can see sneaking in there because they're the only one that actually stood toe to toe and took the Chiefs to task a couple of times, you know. And if they can just put some points on the board more consistently, get Henry Ruggs and Darren Waller, those guys, they got a 1, 2, 3, 4 punch over there on offense. They got some guys that put some numbers up. If they can just learn to make the stops at the right time, that consistently through the year, the Raiders could be a playoff team, especially with that extra spot in there. So I'm expecting some big things out of the Raiders. The other team that I was wanting to talk about outside of the Raiders would be, Lord have mercy, just totally slipped my mind, would be the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers were basically an overthrown pass away from being Super Bowl champs as early as 3 years ago. They pretty much got everybody coming back. Jimmy G is now hopefully can stay healthy. You got Tevin Coleman. You got a great offensive line with Trent Williams. You got a really outstanding defense. And your coaching staff, with the lack of losing the defensive coordinator to the Jets, they got everybody coming back. And one of the things that hurt them last season was the huge rash of injuries that they had. And people were thinking they were going to make another run at it. But, the injuries cost them, and, but it also helped them. It also helped them with their draft picks and so on and so forth. So I think the fact that, they've retooled on offense. They've gotten even more and more talent. In the division, is a division that they were on the cusp of really taking a chokehold over, even though the Rams were in there, because of the fact that they could run the ball virtually on anybody in the NFL, including the Rams or anybody else, which really kept them competitive. Outside of the injury bug that they had sustained, they're a team that I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do, and I think they'll be one of the teams that really make a run at the playoffs this year. Okay. Now is the start of our divisional breakdown. We usually, do this the same time last year, trying to go into camp to try to give the folks, our fans, a little bit of preview of who we think is going to do what and who is what. So we're going to start with the AFC East. And I want to start we don't have to put it in no particular order. But I'm going to think I'm going to go from top to bottom. I mean, bottom to top, who I think, first of all, where they're going to finish. Secondly, what I think, who are some of the better players and players we need to look for. So, even though they got the second pick in the draft, I still think they got a lot of work to do. They got our boy Keelan Cole coming over there. I think the Jets are on the path to trying to rebuild that team, but they still got a lot of work to do. I'm just not sold on the kid that they got from BYU, Wilson. I mean, I think he had a wonderful year, but in my experience, a flash in the pan year always is, to me, is a red flag. But I wish the kid nothing but success. He's not a person that I'm hoping anything goes wrong. I just don't see him being the franchise quarterback in that media market. First of all, this is a guy that was out of Utah, and you didn't have a lot of publicity. You didn't have a lot of people nitpicking everything you did. They're going to be wondering when he goes into a restaurant what kind of beverage he ordered. And they're going to be breaking that down. Why he ordered malt instead of whatever. And so can he deal with all of that? I mean, we literally just came back from there. I literally got back 2 days from New York City. In a game, and it's just a totally different world from coming from anywhere else, especially when you're coming out west in Utah, where it's really, really quiet, really, really, just a low key place. So it's going to be one of those things that you want to check on what his development is and the overall team development. How well did left tackle Mekhi Becton? How does he improve from his rookie year to next year? He's a massive human being. Can he become that protector? Because Wilson's going to need him to keep him off the ground, as well as the other guys. And then they drafted some other offensive linemen. So it's going to be interesting. Obviously, right now you got, you hate to say between you can go second or third between either one of these two, but for we're going to just go by because what they did. We're going to say the New England Patriots. Cam under this system for one more year. All those guys, they had the most guys to opt out. In the NFL, all the defensive players. Can they get Stephen Gilmore under contract, and can he be, made healthy? Be happy, and can that defense roll on back into form like they were the previous years? And I think with Cam, I think they'll be able to figure out a way to use that offense better for Cam, and I think Cam is going to perform a lot better in it, especially with a little bit more help at the tight end position, and he got some decent wide receivers that he can throw to. Next on our list, we've talked about them, as probably like we just said in the last segment, Miami Dolphins. Wow. Some upgrading. And they won 10 games last year, and they still didn't make the playoffs. Can they improve on that? Does it take them getting to 11 wins to make the playoffs with that second 7th spot open now? So, Tua Tagovailoa, does he take that next step and develop into what everybody think he could be as a franchise quarterback? And, Flores, can he continue to work his magic, push the right buttons, get the right best play out of the guys that you never heard of, like Gaskin, some of these guys that you're like, who is this kid? Next thing you know, he's making plays. That's going to be interesting to keep an eye on them. And last but not least, can Buffalo take this division and own it like it did in the early the 90s? Will this be their time again to own the AFC East? Or will this be a flash in the pan? Will there be an up again, down again team? They were in the AFC Championship last year. They had a tremendous defense, and they had a big play offense. So, we'll see. I'm going to get your take on it.
We kind of synced up a little bit. We kind of synced up. Hear me out with the Jets. Yeah, I could care less if Keelan Cole was in Jacksonville or not.
I would like the guy.
I would have helped him pack. He was a great guy. I'm just saying, I would have helped him pack. But no, they just don't have the parts to a whole car yet.
Yeah.
So they're not really driving anywhere. It just looks cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they still have some organizational work that needs to be done to fix years and years and years of bad play and stuff. So they got some work to do. Now, I think Miami and New England are kind of head and toe with each other. But I'll put Miami in that third spot because they're going to go through some growing pains here with a lot of young players. Not to say Brian Flores isn't the guy to help correct the ship. Honestly, if any AFC division that has a chance of putting 2 or 3 teams in the playoffs, it's this one. But Miami still has a lot of players that they got to get on the right path. And then I said it earlier, I'm not going to keep downplaying Bill Belichick. He's Bill Belichick. And if there's a wild card spot out there for him, he's going to take it.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, a healthy Cam, a Matt Jones behind Cam, some really good receivers in Cam this year, a healthy defense. Just don't sleep on the New England Patriots.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Buffalo is still Buffalo. I don't think I can't. When you make it to the AFC Championship and you keep most of your team, if not all, I can't
upgrade in the secondary in the draft.
Right, I can't give you a flash in the pan type of rating, especially when your quarterback and your receiver are best friends, and they make it look easy, almost as if they were playing Madden in real life. It looks great. And the thing about Buffalo in this particular division, looking at everything the Jets, the Dolphins, and the Patriots have done in the offseason and the draft, they still don't have anything that can beat them. On paper, that is. And so, yeah, you have to go ahead and give the nod to the Buffalo Bills to win this division.
Okay. Well, shoot, that was all right there. And I mean, we are going to, see how it works out. I think that's probably the way it might even line up, and when the season is all said and done. It wouldn't surprise me, and everybody thinks it, but it wouldn't surprise me if 3 teams out of this division, those last 3 teams we spoke of, all make the playoffs, with Buffalo winning the division and the Dolphins and the Patriots as your 5th and your 7th seed. And I'm saying not 6th, 5th, and 6th, but 5th and your 7th seed, because one of those is going to kind of sneak in there at the end. But that would surprise me at all, because there's a lot of talent, and you can say you got 2 great coaches, one of the probably all-time best, and one of the best up-and-coming coaches, in Flores. And it would not shock me to see both of that, like I said, one of those guys playing each other in the first round of the playoffs. And so, we're going to end this show talking about, next week's show, we're going to try to do the NFC East next week, and we're going to talk about some other pertinent things that come around this sports world. We'll get in a little bit more maybe the NBA, because that was interesting. All the rational injuries to the bigger players. Now that's been kind of, been watching it. I've really watched more basketball this playoffs than I probably watched in the last 4 to 5 years. So we'll probably get a little bit of touch on that. But what we want to do before we leave, we want to tell everybody thank you for watching this show. If you love what we're watching, if you like what we're watching, hit that like button, and also subscribe to our channel. Also, once again, please, give some business to our people that support us and watch game film, Car, Team Sportswear Direct, the Women's Tackle Football League, who just so happened just completed their regular season, getting ready for the playoffs. and then, Laces Out Foundation along with the DEMP Project. Great organizations. Please just check them out if you can, and help out as and wherever you can, and give them some business. And until next week, we'll see you right here again on the Terry McGriff Show. Thank you again, once again, to our co-host, Andre L. Sullivan, and our great producer, Granville Moody Fowler, All Sports High. And we'll see you right here on this channel again on the Terry McGriff Show. Be blessed.